December 17, 1944, Bulge, Belgium. At 8 in the morning, SS Obersturmbannführer Joachim Peiper stood in the snow-covered square of Bulge, watching his men refuel their tanks. The irony was not lost on him. German tanks filled with American fuel, poured from American jerry cans by American prisoners working under guard. Peiper commanded Kampfgruppe Peiper, the spearhead of the 1st SS Panzer Division Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler. 4,800 men, with 117 tanks and assault guns. His orders were simple and audacious. Break through American lines, drive west to the Meuse River, seize the bridges, and divide the Allied armies. This was Hitler's final gamble in the West, Operation Watch on the Rhine, the Ardennes Offensive. It was the largest German attack since 1940, involving 250,000 men and 1,400 armored vehicles. The ultimate goal was Antwerp, the vital Allied supply port. If it fell, the British and Canadians would be trapped, and Hitler hoped the Americans would be forced to negotiate. But the operation faced a fatal weakness: fuel. Germany had allocated 5 million gallons of gasoline for the offensive, only half of what was needed to reach Antwerp. The plan depended on capturing American fuel depots intact. Peiper's intelligence officer had marked them on his map: supply dumps, ammunition stores, fuel depots scattered across Belgium. The question was whether they could seize them before the Americans destroyed them.
Bulge was the first test. Peiper's group had taken the town at 7:30 that morning, after a brief fight. The Americans had fled in such haste that they left everything behind, including a fuel depot containing 50,000 gallons, enough to fill Peiper's entire column. He ordered the American prisoners to pump the gasoline while his exhausted soldiers rested. Efficiency and humiliation were both achieved. The captured Americans fueled the tanks that had captured them. But refueling took time. Each 5-gallon can had to be passed and poured by hand. Hundreds of tanks required thousands of cans. Hours slipped by, hours Peiper could not afford. Every minute stationary gave the Americans more time to regroup. Yet he had no choice. Without fuel, the panzers were useless. Peiper remembered the Eastern Front, where entire divisions had been stranded when fuel ran out. It was a lesson burned into his memory. Even the best tank was nothing without gasoline. His aide, Hauptsturmführer Jupp Knobelsdorff, often called Nuska, reported that the situation was worse than expected. The Bulingen fuel would only get them as far as Stevelo. After that, they would need more. Peiper already knew it. Intelligence indicated a much larger depot there, but reaching it would be risky. Still, there was no alternative. As he waited, Peiper examined the captured American supplies stacked in the depot: ammunition, food, medical kits, winter uniforms. Everything was neatly packed and labeled. He picked up a small waterproof cardboard box marked K-Ration, meal, combat, individual, breakfast. Inside were chopped ham and eggs, hard biscuits, chocolate, 4 cigarettes, instant coffee, sugar, chewing gum, matches, even toilet paper and a wooden spoon. Peiper was astonished. Each box provided a complete meal, ready to eat, requiring no cooking. German soldiers, by contrast, received bulk rations that needed preparation. The bread was hard and stale, the meat mostly fat. His men had left Germany with 3 days' worth of rations that were long gone. They now lived off whatever they could scavenge: American food, Belgian livestock, anything edible. When Nuska tasted the American ham and eggs cold from the can, he was startled by how good it was. Even the cigarettes and chocolate seemed luxurious. Peiper silently did the math. If each American soldier got 3 such meals daily, and there were 10 million Americans in uniform, that meant 30 million boxed meals every day, nearly a billion a month. Germany could not hope to match that level of production. The U.S. industrial capacity behind even these simple rations dwarfed Germany's entire wartime economy. When another officer, Sturmbannführer Werner Peutschke, arrived to report his tanks were low on both fuel and ammunition, Peiper directed him to the captured supplies. They even found crates of 75mm shells compatible with German guns. Peutschke's men eagerly opened boxes of K-Rations, eating them as if at a feast. To them, it was a reminder of how well-equipped their enemy truly was. By 9:30 a.m., refueling was done. The column formed up, tanks first, then half-tracks and trucks, and rumbled west toward Stavelot. The roads were muddy and clogged with refugees, wrecks, and scattered resistance. Progress was slow, but the goal was clear: reach the Meuse River and secure the bridges. Peiper reached Stavelot around noon. The town straddled the Amblève River, its stone bridge defended by determined American troops. A fierce 3-hour battle followed. When the Germans finally forced a crossing, they were relieved to find the bridge intact. The demolition charges had failed. Without it, the advance would have ended there.
December 21, 1944, Stoumont, Belgium. 4 days later, Major Hal McCown of the U.S. 30th Infantry Division crouched in a cellar in Stoumont as German tanks closed in. His battalion had been fighting Peiper's forces for 3 days and was now surrounded. German armor pressed from all sides. Communications were failing. At 2:30 p.m., German troops stormed his command post. McCown and several officers were captured and brought to Peiper's headquarters, a damaged stone house riddled with bullet holes. Inside, Peiper stood over a map table, calm despite the chaos. He was tall, thin, and spoke flawless English. He greeted McCown courteously, asked his name and rank, and did not press for more. That night, the two men talked for 7 hours. Peiper spoke passionately about Germany's struggle, defending Nazism and the war effort. McCown mostly listened. Despite their opposing sides, he later admitted Peiper was one of the most intelligent and confident men he had met. Yet what McCown observed during his captivity contradicted Peiper's words. German troops were exhausted, many wearing captured American coats and gloves because their own winter gear had run out. Their rations were scarce, their medical supplies almost non-existent. Most were surviving on captured American food, K-Rations, C-Rations, and 10-in-1 packs, treating them as delicacies. One soldier showed McCown a can of ham and said wistfully, "If Germany could make rations like this, the war would be different." McCown understood the implication. Germany's